If it's hard for us, how much harder it is for young people who are growing up with it. And I think it just shows how persuasive this design is. Again, and that's what I want young people to understand. This tech is addictive. We are all vulnerable to overconsumption because of the dopamine pathways it taps into, because of the way that it's become so necessary and so convenient. It's really not a level playing field here against technology. So we need to fight back really, really hard, I think, to get our own use under control so that we can feel better as parents and less stressed, and so that we can help our kids and model good habits for them.
Welcome to the Fresh Start Family Show. I'm your host, Wendy Snyder, powerful parenting educator and family life coach. And together we are going on a journey to help you expand your heart, learn new tools, and strengthen your family so you can build the family legacy of your dreams. I'm a mama too turned child and family advocate who went from being extremely stressed out back when my strong-willed little girl was a toddler to now thriving as a parent and having the honor to support thousands of families each year who choose to go from frazzled and impatient to peaceful and empowered. Each week, we will dive in with experts, thought leaders, authors, and advocates with insights to help you thrive in your parenting walk, as well as in your marriage and even in your career and faith walk too. Together, sometimes alone, sometimes with my better half and co-host Terry, we'll explore the triumphs and trials we all face as parents and share practical tools to fill our hearts, minds, and souls with inspiration. Take a deep breath and get ready to be poured into with some fresh start inspiration. Let's do this. Hey families, welcome to a new episode of the Fresh Start Family Show. We're so happy you're here. Today on the show, we have Dr. Susie Davies, who is talking to us about how we can shield our kids from screen addiction. And we're going to talk about 5 game-changing strategies to empower and unplug. Welcome to the show, Dr. Susie.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, I have been excited to interview you for a while. I know we had to shift around our times and our dates a few times, so thanks for your patience with us. But I think you were asking me before we started recording how I found you, and I'm pretty sure that I had run across a post of yours, or maybe you were tagged into somebody else's post around how the amount of childhood injuries, like broken foots, legs, cuts, whatever it may be, they've gone down significantly over the last 10 years. And the mental health injuries has gone way up. And I just thought that coming from a doctor who is practicing, and that was just such a significant data point to me that I was like, wow. And I know just over the years, I have become so passionate about empowering parents with the concept of preventing addiction, like so much of this is preventable when it comes to the decline in our children's mental health that we're seeing so much. So your work and what you've done with Papaya is so important. But would you tell us your story? Tell us all about you, your family, and how you became so passionate about being a doctor, but also preventing screen addiction for children and the why behind the creation of Papaya.
Yes, so I'm Dr. Susie Davies. I'm a GP in Bristol. This is actually my surgery at work. So I'm a family doctor. And 6 years ago, I took up a job at Bristol University working with students. So I already had an interest in young people and in mental health. And I got invited to specialise in young people's mental health at Bristol University. And I guess my story was I was really shocked by the level of mental health problems that students were having in 2018. So every day, almost all of my patients that I was seeing were struggling with mental health problems, severe anxiety, depression, insomnia, personality disorders, ADHD type symptoms at a much higher level than I was seeing in general practice in the general population. And I guess I just got really curious as to why this subset of students were so unhappy. And in case you don't know, Bristol's quite an affluent university. It's one of the top universities in the UK. So it tends to be, really, it should be young people who are thriving and happy who get to go there. Yeah. And instead, I was seeing the complete opposite story. So I got curious. I guess that's what I do as a doctor. I just started asking them lots of questions. I was trying to work out what was happening for these young people in their lives that was making them so unhappy. And often I couldn't find a trauma, or I couldn't find something awful that had happened to them. But I did start asking them about their tech use. And I started gathering this sort of history of young people who had had lots of social media, who had accessed lots of online gaming, who were spending lots of time comparing themselves to other people and feeling less good about themselves. And quite quickly, I just developed this inner sense that the problem for many of these students was their tech habits, both in adolescence, but also as students now. So I became really profoundly kind of worried about this, I guess, as an issue for society. And at the same exact moment, my daughter was 10 years old at the time. So that's at the end of our primary school system in the UK. I know it's a bit different in different places, but it's the age in the UK when a lot of young people get their first smartphone. And I just had this epiphany moment. I thought, I don't want her to have a smartphone. I don't think it's going to be the best thing for her. So at that moment, I thought, I don't want her to be on her own. I don't want her to be left out. So I met a couple of other parents and invited them to delay their daughter's first smartphone too. And very quickly, we gathered other parents with us, and we set up the charity Papaya to help educate and empower parents and young people about the dangers of tech.
Wow. I love it that you got support when you reached out to parents, because I did not. So our girls, so how old is your little girl? Almost 17 now, like mine?
Yeah, she's 16 now. Yeah, so she's kind of
Okay.
retired 6 years ago.
So that is so interesting. So we have the same age girls,
Yeah.
and same here in Southern California. So that's so interesting to hear over there that it's the same thing. I was hoping that it was different, but it's not. And everyone, like, 9, 10 years old, they're starting to get these devices. And I went to her closest group of friends. It was about 6 of them. And I said, hey, why don't we create a pod? That way all of our girls, they'll at least feel like they have each other. And basically everyone said no. They said, we have to have our kids have a phone because we work. And I think at the time I wasn't as prepared as I am now to advocate, like, hey, there's these other options if you want to be able to get in touch with your kids or whatever. And then a few, I think maybe 1 or 2 might have said sure. And within like 6 months, their kid had a phone. It just failed. And Stella ended up to go on to be the massive rainbow unicorn. She was the only kid throughout middle school. And thank God, COVID was a bit of a blessing because we were just home for a long time, like a year and a half of that, which kind of helped as far as being an outcast. But every volleyball trip with her indoor team they'd go in a van of 10 kids. She was the only one without a phone, So I'm just really happy to hear that you had some people who said, heck yes, Dr. Susie, we value your expertise here, and to go on to create Papaya is so beautiful. And what do you guys do at Papaya on a daily basis? What is your main stuff?
Well, I think my mission is that I believe every young person has a right to understand the negative impact that excessive screen time can have on their well-being. So really that's our remit is education. And we do that by reaching out directly to young people. So we go into schools, we're in schools every day across the UK, and we run a screen intervention workshop. And it's not about telling young people what to do. I think it's about asking powerful questions and helping them understand. So really, it's meant to be a very thought-provoking workshop where young people get to think about how long they might spend on a screen. I get them to work out their daily average. And then I say, okay, if you're 10 now and the average life expectancy is 80, we work out how many years of their life they would spend on the screen. And I just ask them the question, is that time well spent? Do you really want to spend, potentially 23 years of your life on a device, or at this point in time, before you've spent that time, is there something else you want to do at that time instead? So, we ask lots of questions. I want to empower them to understand about dopamine, give them top tips for getting a healthy balance, and also really working with students to say, if you don't have a phone, don't ask for one. Let's make it easier for your parents. Let's say, can you delay the smartphone for as long as possible now that you understand the risks of having one? So we work with students, and then we also work with parents, because I believe parent education is so important. We need to understand as parents that we've got options, exactly, that we are empowered, that you don't just have to give your child social media or a smartphone, that actually we can do things differently. And if we do, our children will really, really benefit from it.
Heck yes. And so when it comes to the education you're doing with kids, are you teaching them about like what depression or anxiety or those anxious thoughts and feelings, like what that kind of feels like? Because I know as a 10-year-old, it's hard for kids to kind of understand what that would be like, right? And I remember just so many tear-filled conversations with Stella and telling her, I know this is hard to imagine, but you got to trust me that you're going to have some friends who are going to end up with depression, self-harm, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. She's lost last year. So my daughter's a junior, so that's 11th grade here. And her sophomore year, they lost 3 kids to suicide at her school in the matter of 4 months. And so I said, I hate this, but you're going to start to see and sure enough, she's got friends that self-harm, cut,
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts, massive depression, massive addiction to the phones, can't go to sleep without the phone. Like it is just prevalent, right? But how do you explain that to a 10-year-old, right? Like what are some things that you guys advocate for there?
I mean, I think it's all about being age appropriate. So
Yeah.
really our workshops are tailored to the age of the child. And the way we do it with our 10-year-olds is I just show them some little silent videos, actually, of people not being able to sleep, or there's one of a young man
Mm,
looking a bit distressed. And I just get them to describe what's happening in the video. And I say, what do you think the link with the phone is? So I get them to do it in their own words, because I
love
think
it.
every class is different, and then every child is different. So you want to be reaching them at their level, rather than,
Yeah.
I don't want to scare them, but I want to empower them. So really what I'm hoping is that young people will just understand that there's a link, that people who spend lots of time on screens might be less happy, partly because they're missing out on the real world, they're missing out on childhood. We talk a little bit about what people used to do before the internet. How did their parents play? Because I just want them to think as well about actually going to the park, playing out on the street, being with your friends after school. Those are all really good for well-being. But if you spend your whole evening at home in your bedroom on your devices, you're not connecting with people, and you are going to feel more anxious. So we do it in lots of different ways, very much led by the child, and very much in a way that doesn't bring fear, but actually is there to empower them that they have got a choice in this.
Nice. I love that. I can tell by the way you guys teach this that it's engaging and it's fun and it's coming from them. I just saw a spot, I want to say it was Sunday Morning. It's a show we have in America here that I love so much, but Jane Pauley is the host. And they did a spot on school systems in Finland that are teaching children very young. They were more like, I think 12, 13, 14, but they were teaching them about propaganda, how to sniff out false propaganda lies in media and really do their own research to compare. And it was the most fascinating piece. But basically, they were just educating kids young on here's how you do it, here's the alarming things, here's what can happen when people are led astray and made to believe certain things. And it was just so cool to see these kids work together in these teamwork environments to develop the skill set to be able to challenge and debunk the false lies or the propaganda stuff. And so that's what it sounds like you guys are just educating so young. And just the other day, my little guy, we had 2 instances of teaching here in town that were just awful. So one was my daughter, in order to get a parking permit at her school, she had to go to this seminar and you had to bring a dad or your parent. And it was at night. So daddy went with her. And it was around safety in the parking lot and driving. And we were like, this is so interesting. You have to go to a 2-hour thing to get this parking pass. And so, sure enough, they show up. And it was basically, they joked that it was a scared straight presentation
Yeah.
about drugs and alcohol and drunk driving, which can we get educate? We love education around that stuff, right? But and Terry was there, so he heard it straight from his ears too. It was full of fear. It was full of like, Oh my gosh, it was crazy. And Stella came home and she's like, "Why would you think that would influence me?" Like she's
Yeah.
like, and so we just had this great conversation around it. And I suppose it is one way, but it just what both of my kids, because they've been raised in a different style of parenting, they're just like, that is so weird. And then Taryn came home, he's my almost 14-year-old, and he said something similar about a presentation they had at school. I forget what it was, but he was like, why do they come in and teach like that? Why don't they have someone that can like actually connect with the kids and the students? And I was like, I don't know, but the traditional way has been to scare the kids and
Yeah.
tell them how bad it is and don't, whether it's technology or phones or drugs and alcohol. And the kids are just like not really inspired by it.
Yeah.
But I
And
can
the
tell
thing
that
is,
the way.
yeah, the kids love their phones. So the first thing I say to them is, I promise I'm not going to tell you you can't have your phones or your Xbox, because
Nice.
we don't want to
That's good.
disengage them before we've even started. We've got to find cracks in their armor, and so it's
Right.
all about trying to make them want something else. And I say it's not about taking your devices away from you. It's actually about giving you something back. I want to give these kids
Yeah.
back each other. I want to give them back their friendship. I want to give them back play dates after school. I want to give them back baking with their parents. And again, part of the workshop is, how can we inspire them to think about the things that they could do with their time? What could they do instead? And even if they cut back on their screen time 30 minutes a day, that actually gives them a year and a half of their life back if you work out the time.
Yeah.
But also 30 minutes a day to connect with a parent or to do something in the park can be the difference between, mental, really poor mental health and a child who's thriving. Now, ideally, it'd be more than cutting back 30 minutes a day, but every gain is a positive. And again, it's trying to help the children find something that they can achieve, something that they want to achieve, and really inspiring them that they can do other things with their time.
And they're smart cookies. Once you educate them and tell them what to look out for, they start to realize like they are wise, wise, wise creatures.
They are.
Yeah,
And
there
that's
was,
something I was just going to say about talking to a whole class as well, because you try and motivate the whole class. You say, look, in the summer, you've got a park next door to the school. Don't just go home, get your parents' consent, but meet up, do something together, connect with each
yeah.
other. Or just encouraging them, if you are meeting up, put the phones away. Don't spend your time at the park on your devices. Be with each other. So there's a power in numbers, in reaching a whole class at one time is can be really powerful.
Yeah, man, and what a high degree of difficulty this all is, because it's like I notice when my son played a football game. We were all camping with all these boys, and my son had a football game, and we had to bring all the boys with us. They're 13, 12 and 13. And Taryn was going to play the game. They were going to hang out in the bleachers, cheer him on, supposedly, like hang out, be at this game. And I got there a little late because my husband and I had to do a switcheroo. And I look up in the bleachers and I see, because one kid has the device. And
Mm,
sure enough, they're all just
yeah,
staring at the device, cracking
mm,
up, watching something. They're
yeah,
Terrence scoring goals. I mean, it was one of the most exciting football games he's ever played. They barely watched it. Like, as soon as you
yeah,
bring in a device, and so to teach these kids from a young age how to have that self-control, like what a task we have ahead of us. But I love that you guys are really looking at how do we teach from an engaging perspective. There's a gentleman named Colin Karchner. I don't know if you were ever aware of his work over there. It's so sad. He passed away from a heart attack at a very young age. He might have been like 47 or something, probably 2 or 3 years ago, but he was doing this tremendous work here in America, touring the nation, and he would go speak in high schools. And he was so engaging to the kids. He would give away like Nike shoes. He made it fun.
yeah.
And
Gotta make it.
by the time he would end these presentations, they were all just like messaging him, because he would share these messages of like, hey, I want you to know I went home and I deleted this social app. I feel so much better. I feel like my life has come back to me. My depression has gone away. I no longer am having suicidal thoughts. Like, and he
Yeah,
would just share, because he had a big platform. But the way he was teaching, the kids were responding.
mm,
And that is something that I've always looked at. And want to platform and put in front of my community anybody who is tapping into that power, because that's how we're going to change. Like when we're going to talk about what we can do here, especially as
Mm.
parents too, and that's important, but to inspire the youth is like such a task, and anybody who's trying to do that, I respect greatly.
And it's such an amazing thing to do. Exactly. Those moments where you get young people say, Miss, I'm going to go home and I'm going to delete my social media. I just don't want it anymore. Or sometimes when I get to go back into a school, I'm hearing when they've tried something like, so I had a class who were going to not use their Xboxes before school. So there's a culture where often they were getting up at 6 a.m. and Xboxing before school. And this boy, he turned around and he said, Miss, I feel joy this morning because I've slept in and I've had breakfast with my family, not been on the Xbox. And his teacher was like, oh my goodness, he is like a different child. And again, I think people don't realize the negative impact tech is having on them because it becomes normal, doesn't it? They don't know how they would feel if they cut back. It's just become the status quo. And I think it's so powerful, isn't it, when we give people the opportunity to have a challenge, to cut back their screen time and to feel better, then they want to do it. I had the news app on my phone, and 2 years ago for a New Year's resolution, I deleted it. And it's because I had got into doom scrolling over COVID.
Yeah.
And it's the only resolution I've ever kept because I realized it was just so great not to have it because I wasn't drawn. We have the BBC as our main news channel in the UK. It's great, but that you can't spend too long on the site. It's got the basics, but that's perfect for my needs to know what's going on. But I got rid of the news app, gave myself back that time, and I've never wanted it back again. And it's just a little story, isn't it? You don't realize it's affecting you till you make that positive change, and then you think, wow, I'm so much better off without it.
Okay, let's talk real parenting for a moment. If your home sometimes feels more like a war zone than a peaceful sanctuary, and your strong-willed child feels like they're constantly pushing back, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not a bad parent. You're not broken, and your child is not out to ruin your life. I know. It sure seems like that sometimes, doesn't it? You're exhausted because you're actually trying so hard, but you're using hand-me-down parenting tools that weren't effective back then to get long-term results and aren't effective now. Plus, the fear and force tactics that most of us inherited were never going to work for the beautiful, bold, determined child you've been gifted. That's why I created Thriving with Strong-Willed Kids, a completely free quick start learning bundle that's changing the game for families everywhere. Inside this bundle, I'm going to teach you how to calm power struggles without punishment or threats or yelling. I'm going to help you communicate in ways your child actually responds to, no matter how strong-willed they are, and finally feel empowered and responsive as a parent instead of reactive. Inside the free learning guide and interactive 1-hour workshop, I'll help you flip the script to stop seeing your child as too much and start seeing them as exactly who they're meant to be. Remember, you're not failing. You just haven't been given the right roadmap yet. So you can grab your free bundle and choose your workshop time at freshstartfamilyonline.com/power. Let's rewrite your parenting story together. Well, let's talk about that as far as our behavior as parents. So our number one point today, if we want to do what we can to prevent our children from having screen addiction, as far as game-changing strategies to empower and unplug. Number one is have healthy tech boundaries at home, especially no screens in room at night. And you may need to buy an alarm clock, right? And I will say that we've nailed it on the no screens at night 98% of the time in the bedroom. But I'm just going to be real. I am not modeling what I want yet. And it is wild that as a 47-year-old woman who didn't have this established into my neural pathways as a child, I did not have phones like this, right? But I just started the phone habit, I think we were 18 or 20 when the iPhones came along. But it's for me to put my phone away at 5 o'clock at night in a separate room. And it's I am flabbergasted about how hard this is. And I suppose we can talk about not reaching perfection here, but it to me is so blaringly clear that I've got a lot of work to do around this because I'm still, and we also live in a day and age where thing. It's like you go to order groceries, you do it online here in America, or, you need to get back to your mom. And so you text her, right? Instead of back in the day, we had the phone on the wall. It's easy to make excuses that we have to, right? But like, I just know that it is something that I want so bad to get off of these devices after 5 p.m. at night because I think I'm swimming in that pond, so to speak, and I'm going to feel so much better. And it's felt almost impossible. That's how much the addiction has become for me as an entrepreneur running a business and just feeling like I have to. So, what are your thoughts on this idea of creating the healthy tech boundaries? Your example of deleting the news app is a great example, but like, how do you address this with parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I do say to parents exactly is if you want to have children with healthy tech habits, it all starts with us. The reason they want a phone and the reason they want to be on their devices isn't just because their friends are on their devices. They see the power the devices have over us as their
Yeah,
parents. So I think modeling good behavior is so important, but it is so hard. Exactly. Our phones have become a mini computer in our pockets. So much of our world happens on them. So to make it easier, I would say try and take things off the phone. So try and get work email back onto a laptop is really powerful. Get that alarm clock so you
true.
don't need it for a device. Treat yourself to buy the newspaper, rather than having it on your phone. I try and set boundaries for when I'm doing admin, just giving myself a sort of 30-minute slot a day when I try and condense the online banking, try and do everything so that I'm more free. But it is so difficult. And if it's hard for us, how much harder it is for young people who are growing up with it.
Yeah.
And I think it just shows how persuasive this design is. Again, and that's what I want young people to understand. This tech is addictive. We are all vulnerable to overconsumption because of the dopamine pathways it taps into, because of the way that it's become so necessary and so convenient. It's really not a level playing field here against technology. So we need to fight back really, really hard, I think, to get our own use under control so that we can feel better as parents and less stressed, and so that we can help our kids and model good habits for them.
Yeah. Gosh, when I'm doing my parenting coaching, I have to remember that. Like when everyone's stressed out, it's like that should be our number one thing. Are we setting those devices down at nighttime, right? Because many of us, I know, are just they're everywhere. We go into the kitchen, we go into the bedroom. Like they just are with us. And
Yeah.
our brain, I think, is responding to that. So we have work to do there and we can take small steps. And I love that you have the no screens in rooms, especially at night. And for us, that has been one rule that has been intense, but we have kept it. Like the kids never have been allowed to have technology in their room. And it's been tricky because over COVID, they had like a little desk set up. So we had to bend with parameters a little bit during COVID, but still, we have been pretty firm on no phones, even computers. We really don't encourage in the bedrooms. We live in a very small home, so they don't always love it that they have to sit on the couch,
Yeah.
or we do let them go in our bedroom and relax in our bed, but in their bedrooms, it's
Yeah.
just a no tech zone, and that has really helped, and that's always been the case since they were really, really little. So if it feels overwhelming, maybe just starting with that one really firm can help, right?
I think that is the most important change any family can make, because the negative impact of tech is not happening around your kitchen table. That's not where they're watching the
Yeah.
pornography. That's not where the bullying's happening. It's happening when they're on their room at night time. And that's where their sleep is disturbed. And we know good sleep is the foundation of good mental health. So if they can have that 8 to 10 hour window apart from their screen, it will reduce their screen time. It helps their sleep. And it's highly, highly protective against a lot of the most negative harms of technology. And it's free, isn't it? So many of the interventions people come up with are complicated, they cost money, you've got to spend time working out how to do it. But actually, as a parent, you're paying the phone bills, it's your home. It's not
Yeah.
always popular, but I do think taking the devices out of the bedroom, making sure that in a safe communal space overnight is the most powerful change that you can make, and it's the simplest.
Yeah.
So
We have like a
that's
little shelf outside of both of their rooms. And it's funny, I still, because my daughter is my very, very, very strong-willed one. My little guy is a little bit more easygoing, but she's the reason why I became a parenting coach and is just an angel in the world, because without her, I would not be where I am today. Because we've had to learn all these new ways to influence a human being because they don't respond to just do it because I said so. And I still kind of pinch myself as I was going to bed last night. You can hear her little vibrator text thing, it kind of buzzes a few times because she's got friends. Like all of her friends, again, they go to sleep with their phones. Like they fall asleep to TikTok. And you can hear the little text going off. And I still kind of pinch myself that Stella has honored this rule, right? Like I'm just like,
amazing.
we did it. And so if we can do it with Stella,
Yeah.
who is one of the most strongest willed child on earth. And she pushed back against this rule for so long, right? And we just stayed firm with what is the yes behind our no, right? And so knowing that you are literally protecting your child's mental health is the biggest gift you will ever give to them. So okay, number 2, Dr. Susie, is use screen time to control usage. You can negotiate this and reduce it gradually to avoid withdrawal symptoms, reward any reduction. So it's funny because I'm just being so real in this episode. I downloaded an app I think it's called Screen Time. I think it's called
Yeah.
Screen Time. And 2 of my team members, so I have a staff of 4 women, and two of them use it really well. And the rest of us just blew through it and it's off of our app, but off of our phone. But like the first 6 months, it was so
Yeah.
lovely because it would just stall. So every time you'd go to open Instagram, it would give you a message that was like, "Are you sure you want this?"
Mm.
And then it would stall and it would say, "Okay, you can have it in 2 minutes or 60 seconds," and it was just enough to make you go, "What am I
Yeah.
doing? This is
Yeah.
a
Pass
this
that
is a
craving. Yeah.
this is a knee-jerk reaction that I can choose a different pathway." But are there some things, because we do love to teach empowerment versus like control here as parents, and especially because we have a lot of strong-willed kids in this community, and we know that they respond really well to being empowered and
Yeah.
not controlled. They push
Yes.
back when there's control, they respond when there's empowerment. And so, is there some favorite apps that you like to teach them that self-control?
Yes. So, I mean, the one that I really like is called the Forest app. So that's an app where children can set their own timer for how long they're going to go without checking their phone. So again, it's empowering them. They choose the time, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And in that time, it blocks all their apps and it has a little notification, do you need to check me? But if they achieve that task, they get points towards growing trees in the real world. So it's really lovely. They can see their own tree grow by not checking their phone. So my daughter has just done some big exams and she used it as her sort of study timer. And she grew 3 trees revising for her exams, which is just lovely. So I think the Forest app is great. You obviously have to choose to set it. And as I think the danger with all these things is tech is just so addictive that actually sometimes, as much as we want to be empowered, we are so disempowered by the addictive nature of tech that we need a helping hand. So I have screen time on my phone that just gives me an hour and then it cuts off. Now, unfortunately, I do know the password, so I
Yes.
can override it. But at least I know I've hit an hour, and I think, well, an hour, that's 7 hours a week. That's really adds up. And so I do think for children, a combination of using the Forest app, of having some screen time, because we can't, I think screens are so addictive. It's like we wouldn't leave an alcoholic with all the alcohol right in front of them. We would be kind, wouldn't we? We say, actually, we're going to become alcohol free as a family to help you. And I think tech is so addictive that although I love the idea of young people having control over their tech use, and I think they can, I also think we need to fight fire with fire. So I do think having some screen time controls, even if we give them quite a bit of time and they choose to take less, is just a precautionary approach, because we've all talked about how addictive tech is. I think we need some extra things. But I think app blockers are brilliant. I keep seeing the brick come up, which looks amazing. I can actually import it from America. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's a little device that actually turns your smartphone when you're using it into a basic phone. So with that time, it sort of almost locks your phone, takes off all the smart features from it, and gives you as much time as you need. So I think I love the idea, if I was going out with my family, you use it to actually disable all the apps, and you can just text and call if you need to. So reduce that distraction. Because again, I just think that tech is so addictive. It's drawing us away from ourselves all the time. But I love giving young people a challenge to have a family competition. Who can get their screen time down most this week? Who can come up with the most fun things to do instead. So again, I completely agree. We don't want to just take away their screen time, blanket ban it. We want to work with them to come up with challenges or things they want to do and how they want to achieve it.
I love it. And the concept of, if you're going to download some apps for them, of being willing to do it for yourself too, right? Like, I think kids respond so much better when you're doing things as a family. It's like you bring up alcohol. It's like our daughter started to like do a little bit here in America. Kids start drinking really young. I don't know about it over there, but like, I know I started drinking alcohol at like 15. By the time we were at 16, we were at keg parties. And so when Stella started to dabble, we were like, we want to teach you how to be able to go to a party and not have to have alcohol. And we looked at ourselves and we were like, but we can't go to a party and not have alcohol. And so Terry and I were like, it's time. And so we decided to stop drinking. And here we are a year and a half later. We've never felt better. And we are modeling the same thing to our children, that we're the life skill that we're trying to teach them, right? And we've been to weddings, we've been to vacations, and every time we're like, we're doing it. Like, we had so much fun at that wedding, and we did not have 5 beers or 4 glasses of wine. We had nothing, right? And so the concept of, if you're going to put apps on your kid's phone, go ahead and do it yourself too, so you can show them like, this is a human. This isn't like you're a kid and you're having trouble. It's like, no, we all need the help. Like, this is a life skill. Even those of us in our 30s and 40s and 50s are having to figure out. You're not alone. You're not an alien. And we know we're going to feel better. You're going to feel better, but let's do it together. I kind of like that approach.
I think it's all about, togetherness as a family. Let's do it together. Let's tackle this together, and let's all feel better as a family.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3, encourage your teen to delete or hide apps off their home screen. And then we talked about the Forest app, and that's great. So as far as that's cool. So that's like, maybe you tee it up as an experiment, like maybe just see what happens if it's not on the first screen. Is that what you're saying, Dr. Susie?
Yeah, well, I say it's like, if there's a big piece of chocolate cake in front of you, it's going to be tempting you all the time, isn't it? I personally find it really hard to resist a lovely piece of chocolate cake. But if it's not there, or if it's hidden away in the cupboard, if I can't see it, I'm going to be less
mine's
tempted.
front and center, Instagram. That's my little vice. So I got to get that on like page 4.
So exactly. So actually, one of the challenges I set the kids in school is can they go 24 hours without their favorite app? And if they can't,
nice.
that's a real sign they've got an unhealthy relationship with it. And so again, I think by trying to delete it and realize that they're finding it hard, I want for them to realize the power that app has over them. So I really encourage young people to go 24 hours to delete their app, do it once. And then I say, can you do that once a week? Can you go every Saturday or Sunday without your favorite app, to give your brain that break, to reduce the detachment? And actually, some of the students set me the challenge, and now I delete Instagram every weekend. I actually do 48 hours without it, because actually Instagram exactly became my go-to app. I realized the power that it was having over me, and that it was really unhealthy. And it's just so easy, isn't it, just to check. You just go on there for mindlessly, without even really thinking about it. So I think having time every week without your favorite app just helps you separate yourself from it. It reduces its addictive potential. But if you can't do that, you can hide it at least in a folder on the second page, so that it's not the first thing you see when you look at your phone.
I love that. That's a great concept. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm just laughing at myself right now, because I'm like, I have work to do. And I think such a part that I just want to layer in this is, we do so much work with parents to reduce shame, right? And so it can feel so defeating when you're like, I can't believe I've gotten myself to this place where I'm this addicted. And it's just, this is the design of these. I don't think anybody realized when they invented these. I'm an optimist, so I don't think there was some like ha 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 behind Apple. It is like a apple with a bite out of it, which I think is kind of funny, but it's like
Yeah.
the forbidden fruit, right? Like, did they
I
know?
couldn't, I couldn't agree more. The irony of the apple, I think it's very, very interesting.
That is odd, but let's just say I really don't think anybody quite realized what was going to happen.
Mhm.
And so it makes sense why this has happened. It makes sense why our kids struggle with this so much. So I think the more, and I'm talking to myself here too, the more you can just offer compassion with
Yeah,
yourself of like, oh, it makes sense why this is so hard. And you just don't give up. You
yeah.
keep going towards what you want. Okay, our last point, Dr. Susie, is if we want to protect our kids from screen addiction, we got to make more fun. So you mentioned cooking, you mentioned getting out there in the world. We got to get off our devices and actually like make life fun with our kids. So what are some of your favorite tips for that?
Yeah, I think it's just trying to give ourselves the time and the space and the permission to enjoy life. I mean, often as parents, we're busy, we're stressed, trying to squeeze work into every hour of the day. But actually, that's not really how any of us want to live, is it? I just love the idea of giving ourselves time and space to enjoy our children. So we use Gumtree, which is a second-hand site, just to buy a ping pong table. And we now play table tennis in the garden. It cost us next to nothing. But in the summer, in the evenings, we go out as a family and we play a game. We live in a city. We've got a tiny sort of backyard. It is basically now a ping pong table, but we've got something that gets us outside, something to do. And I think it's just trying to find the thing as a family that you can do together, whether it's a board game, whether it's trying to bake together. I got my son just to cook supper with me the other evening because he wanted to just come home from school and watch telly, but I was like, actually no, we're going to cook together, and we made it really fun. It was a win-win. We got to, and he actually opened up. He told me loads about his day, and it was just a really lovely moment where the default was he would just go and watch TV for an hour and I would cook.
Yeah.
But actually just that connection was really, really special. And it doesn't have to cost money. It can be going for a walk. It can be things that can be free, but I think it's about intentionality. And the thing I find that if I'm tired, I might think what I want to do is scroll, or I might think I want to watch TV. But what is actually life-giving and makes me feel better is when I've had a great time with my kids. When I've connected with them or connected with friends or my partner, my husband, that actually is what brings life. And I think we all can come under the lie, can't we, that we're too tired, that we're too busy. But actually, when we break out of that cycle, we all feel so much better and so much happier.
I love that. And yeah, I think always having a book and magazines around can be
Books are
helpful. I think
great.
a lot of our houses we don't have as much as that anymore because the device is just the go-to. If you flop down, and again, speaking about myself here, I'll flop down on the couch after making dinner because Terry cleans up. I cook, Terry cleans up, and I'll just take 10 minutes and it feels so luxurious to just have 10 minutes on Instagram. But I'm going to challenge myself to have, because I have my book that I read before bed, that's like a novel, nonfiction, but I'm going to challenge myself to have my books near, like in the living room too. For a while, I couldn't because our dog, our husky, we have a husky who was chewing books up. And I'm like, but now I think she's old enough now. She's almost 4. I'm going to put my books back on my coffee table and see if that will help me just remember, oh yeah, reading is actually more like soothing to my system than being on a device. So I love that reminder. Oh my goodness, what a delight it has been to get to know you, Dr. Susie, and to learn more about Papaya. Will you tell parents where they can come find you? And is there a way to get Papaya resources and type of presentations into the school systems? We have parents all over the world, and we have a lot in America. So how can they learn more and get those type of presentations going on in their school systems?
So do look at our website, which is papayaparents.com. And on there, if you contact me, I'm really happy to share resources. What I do is I run teacher training sessions. So if you're a teacher and you wanted to have access to our resources to share with your students, I'd really happy. We offer free teaching sessions, and I can train you up in how to share the presentation and just to empower you to to give that message to as many, we want, our aim is for as many children across the world to have access to this. So really anything we can do to help empower you to share that message, that's great. So do get in touch.
I love it. And what a great way to volunteer in a classroom, because a lot of parents want to do something, but they're not sure what. And so to propose actually in your school system, and if you have the resource for like a little 20-minute teaching thing or something where they could come in, or 30 minutes, whatever it may be, whether it's, we have something called a PTA, or parent teacher organization, or actually volunteering in the classroom. I know when Stella was in kindergarten, I would come in and teach social emotional stuff, but the teacher would just have 1 hour to grade or do whatever she wanted while I took the kids and taught them something. So I think most teachers would love to have 45 minutes or an hour to just do a little something while a parent volunteers. So that's wonderful. So listeners, viewers, make sure you go check out Papaya's resources and advocate in your school system for this type of education. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Susie. We just really appreciate what you are doing and advocating for in the world. It is so important. And we are really, really grateful.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for having me. It's been great to meet you. Take care.
Hooray! You made it to the end of a Fresh Start Family Show episode. Thank you so much for being here. If you have a quick second, make sure you hit subscribe to our show so you can be updated when our new episodes drop. I will see you back soon for the next episode. If you are tired of the yelling, the guilt, and the feeling like you're failing as a parent, especially with your strong-willed child, please hear me. There's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with your kiddo. Strong-willed kids aren't broken or problem kids who need their wills broken. They're brave, they're spirited, they're here to teach us something powerful. I know myself because I've been raising one for 17 years and she has completely, positively transformed my life. Thanks to this work that has empowered me to see her in an accurate, truthful lens. I'd love to show you how to thrive with your strong-willed kid too, starting now. You can grab my free Quick Start Learning Bundle and choose a time for the interactive workshop at freshstartfamilyonline.com/power. You are not alone and you don't have to figure this out on your own anymore. I'll see you inside your free learning guide and at class very soon.